And so I recognize myself for my 5 minutes. And I want to ask Ms. Richards, Mr. Sobolewski, Mr. Jablonski, thank you for being here. Your testimony is invaluable. And I think Mr. Sobolewski, Mr. Jablonski, you kind of addressed interaction with what I would call the victims' rights unit of the DC government. And I think that might have worked out. I didn't get a chance to hear, Ms. Richards, were you able to encounter victims' rights units?
No, sir.
No one from the prosecutor's office or social services came through for victims' rights to talk with you?
No.
Okay, but Mr. Sobolewski, Mr. Jablonski?
Yes, that is correct. They reached out to me. They were nice, and it's nice to have them, but it's no compensation for what, you know, what police should be doing, what prosecutors should be doing,
right,
what judges should be doing. There shouldn't need to be this victims' rights unit or whatever it is. It should be elected officials or who's ever in the position of power enforcing laws that are already on the book.
Right, Mr. Jablonski?
Yes, I mean, the lady that reached out to me was very nice, and she offered services for mental health for me and my son, but, you know, when I explained that I was upset with the plea and everything else, she was like, I can listen, but I can't do anything.
Yeah, so I guess that gets to the point here, is it looks like except for in your case, Ms. Richards, you didn't have any interaction, but the real nub of this is the prosecutorial arm. Sounds like it failed our three witnesses here today. Mr. Sobolewski?
I think in part it's on the prosecutor, but it's also on the judges. And
right,
while it's, you know, happening here in DC, it's nationwide, and it's a problem that scares me for, you know, someone who just got married. I want to bring kids into this society, and it scares me that, you know, we have kind of a prosecutorial rot and a judicial rot in our system, and that there needs to be accountability in that.
Thank you. So I'm going to direct the next question to you, Mr. Detective Pemberton. You listed 9 laws passed by the DC Council that have an impact on enforcement by the police, and one of those seemed to have included an elimination of qualified immunity. Is that accurate?
Well, I'm happy to say that that bill actually was not passed. It was introduced and debated, but thankfully that bill never made it to fruition. But it was included in the list because it goes to the sort of rhetoric that the council was engaged in and how the message that was sent to police officers about how they felt about them doing their jobs.
Right, and that rhetoric, and with the threat of removing qualified immunity, that has a suppressive effect on actual policing. In my experience in talking to officers from many jurisdictions, officers become more cautious because even if you, as you said, even if you follow the procedures, policies, constitution, statutes, you're at personal risk for liability. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think a big misnomer here about qualified immunity is that it applies to criminal charges. It doesn't. Qualified immunity just allows citizens to sue police officers as individuals if it were to be removed. So the suggestion there is that if a police officer were to go out and make a mistake, that a citizen could sue them for their own personal earnings, their savings, their home, their college savings. And that obviously creates a chilling effect on doing productive and proactive police work.
Thank you. Mr. Stimson, I want to ask you a question related to your comments about the OAG and should be eliminated and juvenile cases should be referred to the U.S. District Attorney for D.C. The reason I ask that question is because I'm incredibly dissatisfied with the performance of Mr. Graves, who is the U.S. Attorney for the D.C. Do you trust him if he were given now jurisdiction or broader jurisdiction over juvenile cases, that he would actually enforce those? Would he prosecute those?
Well, first off, Mr. Chairman, I'm not proposing to eliminate the OAG. They're the city attorney, and they do a good job handling civil and other matters.
But moving
the criminal function into the U.S. Attorneys by expanding the Superior Court Division and adding a juvenile and traffic section like most city DA offices have. And look, there are good prosecutors in my old office. I'm disgusted at what happened in these 3 cases here. I'm ashamed, actually, of what happened in those cases. That wouldn't happen at a good DA office, just wouldn't. But sunlight's a good disinfectant. According to your colleague, the ranking member, she's had a very productive conversation with Mr. Graves. He says the declination rate is coming down. I hope that's correct. I look forward to seeing the numbers, which are coming out soon. But the OAG holds on to as many juvenile cases as they can. So I think if you, to offer a solution, do what most big city DA offices do, put the juvenile section in the DA's office, and then exercise oversight over that office in an appropriate way, and change the law so that violent juvenile offenders can be handled in the adult court.
My time has expired. I regret that terribly because there's so much more to talk about with you. But with that will conclude our hearing today.